are the hidden traps of using the cheapest roofer? In this video, what we're going to do is we're going to tell you why you might be tempted to use the cheapest roofer, what kind of problems you could run into if you do that, and then we're going to tell you how to find a good roofer who's going to do a great job for you, still fit within your budget, but isn't going to be the cheapest roofer. All right, so we recently did a poll on our YouTube community tab, and we asked roofers, what's the biggest frustration that they have working with homeowners? And the biggest response was their perception that homeowners want to deal with the cheapest roofer. Let me show you that poll here real quick. So now you can see our screen here. They want to work with the cheapest roofer. But is that true? Homeowners, tell us, is it really true that you're wanting to always work with the cheapest roofer? Leave a comment in the comments section down below. Let us know what your thoughts are about that. So I'm going to bring on a surprise guest. This is actually Randy Brothers, and he owns Elite Roofing and Solar up in the Denver market, but he also owns a company that trains roofing contractors on how to run their business, how to be good roofing contractors, how to be good business people, and that's called the Roofing Academy. So I'd say Randy knows a few things about how to choose a roofer. Okay, so Randy, getting back to this poll that we did, I'm just going to throw you right into the fire. Roofers say that they think homeowners want to work with the cheapest roofer. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's just a perception on the part of the roofers?
I think it's a perception. I try to look at these things from, I'm a homeowner as well, right? I'm a consumer and a homeowner as well. I'm also a roofer, been doing it quite a while. And I believe it's a perception. I think we get in our own heads and we think that we have to be the cheapest, and in order to get the business, maybe because it's a lack of systems, it's a lack of process, maybe it's a lack of confidence. But, a lot of like markets, and not necessarily just in roofing, but if you think of traditional, let's say home service businesses, right? As a homeowner, I was brought up to, hey, if you're going to get something done at your home, get some landscaping done or new deck or get something done, you're going to bring in 3 contractors. You're going to look at the bids. You're going to get 3 bids, and the first bid may be really high. The second bid may be really low. There might be another bid that's right in the middle. And I was always kind of, under the impression and or like conditioned to think that, okay, well, the one that's really high, there's something wrong. They might be trying to rip me off. The one that's really low, they might have missed something. They might have not estimated this properly, or maybe they aren't an established well enough company to do the work properly. So I'm going to be more comfortable kind of in that middle space.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that it's kind of a perception, and maybe it's an indictment even on the roofing contractors who are saying, homeowners just want to work with the cheapest roofer. Well, I agree. Sometimes that's true, but I do think it's a perception, and it may just be because the roofers haven't been trained in the process of how can I come into the homeowner's home and just kind of like be a trusted advisor for the homeowner, instead of being super aggressive and just trying to go for the kill, trying to get the sale, and then the homeowner's backing off, right? And they're like, and the homeowner says, well, I need to talk to some other roofers and get some other bids. I think that's probably a lot more to do with it. Let's talk about, though, if a homeowner is thinking about choosing the cheapest roofer, well, why would a homeowner want to do this? And what problems could it cause for a homeowner? Because you and I both know that the perception is, especially if it's an insurance claim, the perception is a homeowner thinks, well, I've got to find somebody who can do the job for less than my insurance claim, or right at my insurance claim. I just had somebody leave a comment on a YouTube video yesterday who said that. I got my insurance claim. Do I have to now go keep talking to roofers until I find one that's at or below my claim amount? So a homeowner may want to find the cheapest roofer. And so one problem that I thought of right off the bat is a homeowner might want to find a roofer who's going to pay their deductible. What's the problem with that?
Well, first off, there's a myriad of problems and challenges with that. One, it is downright illegal. There's laws against a contractor covering a deductible. And it's pretty descriptive. They can do the old tricks. We're doing a marketing fee. I'll put a sign in your yard and cover your deductible. Give me a referral, or, you know, whatever they can kind of use gimmicks to try to get cover, quote unquote, cover that deductible. But in order for a roofing contractor to do that, they have to create a document that says, I've done the work for X dollar amount, give that document to the insurance company, and then turn around and give another document, another invoice to the homeowner with a discount or a lesser amount to the homeowner. In doing so, you're committing fraud. So whether it's illegal for your state or nationwide, in doing that, you're technically committing fraud as a contractor. So, you know, me as a contractor, even before, you know, SB 38 came out, which was the law that came out in 2012, even before that came out, we were not covering deductibles because of the fraudulent activity that it takes to do that. You know, you can do a lot of things. Right. You can upgrade. You can do a lot of things to try to, you know, make sure to give a high quality product out there. But downright just covering a deductible is just not a business that I want to be in. With my goal as a contractor.
So how could that come back to bite a homeowner? Homeowner thinks, oh, this guy's going to pay my deductible. That's going to save me a lot of money. In what way could that come back to bite a homeowner?
Well, here's the thing. This contractor, I mean, there's not just an abundant amount of profit, abundant amount of money in these deals. Yes, inflation happens and roofing can be a large project on your home. But if a contractor is going to continually cover deductibles, they're going to find ways to make up that profit. And unfortunately, the homeowner doesn't even know what corners can be cut. They're in and out roofing a house in an entire day. You know, they can reuse materials, they can reuse flashings, they can do, you know, cut corners one way or another that ultimately can come back and bite you and come back and cause leaks. And, you know, one leak in your home can cost you way more than that $1,000 or $2,000 that you got covered in your deductible. And when that happens, what if that company's not even around anymore? And now, you know, 2 years down the road, 6 months down the road, you're spending more money than this money you saved on that deductible fixing a leak because the contractor cut a corner in order to, you know, give you that discounted roof, so to speak. And let's look at this from the bigger picture. If a bunch of contractors and homeowners are working together to cover those deductibles, guess what's going to happen? The value of roofing and the quality of the roof materials that are going on these projects are going to get less and less and less and less and less. And ultimately, we're now devaluing our home, and the whole market is putting lower and lower quality and less detail to putting on quality installs on your home.
Yeah, I had an adjuster leave a comment on one of my videos within the last couple of days. He said that one of the things that he's been seeing that roofers will do is they'll bid a job and include, say, 2,500 square feet of shingles. But when they install it, they're installing the shingles high, right? So instead of installing it, the overlap here, they're overlapping it like this. Mm-hmm. So then they're just returning those extra shingles and pocketing, you know, the $300, $400, $500 on every job. So then the homeowner ends up with a roof that's it's not even have a warranty on it when something like that happens. So that's your cheap roofer at work, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner.
And that's one way. I mean, underlayments, the things that you don't see, you know, you can downgrade the underlayments. I mean, say your home has a synthetic, you know, high grade underlayment and they're covering the deductible. Then all of a sudden they're putting a 15-pound terrible felt. Like I say terrible, but tearable, like it was, you know, it can tear, or they're reusing flashings, or, you know, when you take metal off of a roof, it gets damaged. It's metal. It's going to bend. It's not going to fit flush anymore. But contractors can just reuse that possibly to save that money to then offset that deductible. For me as a consumer, it's just not worth it.
Let's talk about another issue, and it's going to have the same problems of what we just talked about. But you get a homeowner that wants a roofer who is going to do the job for less than what the insurance claim amount is, thinking that he's going to be able to pocket the money. Tell us why that doesn't work.
Yeah, I was waiting for that one because I think a lot of consumers think that, well, if I just the insurance claim came in and I got this paperwork and it has these numbers on it that's got this ACV, it's got this RCV dollar amount on it, and if I go out and get bids for a cheaper amount, then I get to pocket that money. Hey, you know what? It's human nature, right? I mean, a lot of us may, I don't know about you, but like as a consumer, as just an average human being, like I don't know, we don't see huge checks in my personal account like that. And so they tend to start to think, hey, maybe I can pay off some debt or do something else with that money. And
Yeah.
and then they start to get creative and get all these roofers and I want bids, I want bids, I want bids. And fair enough, in a traditional sense, like I explained earlier, the bid process is normal if you're doing a retail type of project. You're hiring a contractor to do the work and you're paying for it yourself. It's a different process than when the insurance company is actually paying to replace a damaged roof, right? And what happens is, again, if a roofer is going to help you with that process, somebody is going to have to commit fraud in order to get all that money. The insurance
Yeah.
company, over a decade ago, the insurance industry decided that we're not just going to write a big check and let the homeowners go find a roofer, because guess what was happening? Here's your 10, 12, $15,000 check. I'm going to go find a $5,000 roofer and I'm going to pocket the money. Guess what happens? Now I have lower quality shingles, lower quality product, lower quality install on my roof, and everything comes down, and now the insurance has a bigger issue down the road. So what they decided to do, that's what they implemented this system where they have a holdback or that depreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So then what they do, they take the number of years that the roof is supposed to last and then kind of do a math problem on how long the shingles have been on the house versus how long they're supposed to last, and they create depreciation. And they hold money back in order to make sure that the homeowner gets, like in kind, gets a new roof with new up-to-date, shingles that are a product that are like in kind, right? Just like what's already on there. And once they do that, then they provide documentation that they got the work done for the market value of what that work was, and then they release that depreciation. Homeowners don't realize that depreciation is not getting released unless they incur those costs and spend all of that money. And it's really hard to explain that quite often because, unfortunately, and again, as the consumer, many roofers haven't really done a great job giving us a great name, right? We all hear on the news of roofers going out of business or doing unscrupulous things and committing fraud and doing all these things. And then it makes us as consumers kind of nervous, and rightfully so.
But now let's flip that around, because there's a bunch of insurance companies that are moving their clients to either super high deductibles, or they're moving them to a prorated coverage, which means that the homeowner is only going to get a percentage of the full value. So even though it's not technically an actual cash value policy, like we've got one homeowner who's only getting 49% of the cost of his roof. Another homeowner is only getting 61% of the cost of his roof. So there's another reason why somebody might be tempted to go find the cheapest roofer in that situation, where a homeowner is just going to get one check and it's for a low amount. Still, tell us, why would a homeowner not want to hire the cheapest roofer?
For all the same reasons that we've discussed, because you get what you pay for. This isn't about just ordering materials and putting shingles on roofs. There's a business behind this. And unfortunately, not just in roofing, but in contracting, a lot of people go into business without truly understanding their business. They don't understand their numbers. They don't understand their actual profitability. They see a big dollar sign on the front of the insurance paperwork, or they just throw a dollar amount out there just to try to be competitive, or they try to be the cheapest roofer to be competitive to get the work, but they don't actually know how their business operates. They don't know what their overhead is. They don't know what their run rate is. They don't know what it actually costs to operate their business. They're just flying by the seat of their pants. And this is important for consumers to understand that, because as a consumer, I'm just going to hire any roofer that is the cheapest roofer out there. But that cheapest roofer unfortunately probably doesn't actually make a profit.
Mm-hmm.
So am I going to sleep well at night knowing that I hired a company that might not be in business in the next 6 months to a year or 2 years once they actually figure out? And unfortunately, in roofing with insurance claims and stuff like that, it takes a while for the whole process to happen. So it takes a
Right.
while for that roofing contractor to figure out that, oh no, I'm not actually making money. I got to raise my prices in order to be profitable, in order to stay in business. And
Yeah.
homeowners don't think about that sort of thing when they're just looking and trying to hire the cheapest roofer.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, and that kind of ties in with the roofer who tells the homeowner, I'll just do it for whatever the insurance claim amount is. Well, the industry stats on that, from what we've heard, is that 11% of the homeowners just take that money and run. They don't do anything with having the repairs done. So the insurance companies are immediately incentivized to keep the claim amount low to mitigate the amount of money that they're losing. So you get a roofer who says, "Well, I'll just do it for whatever the insurance claim amount is on that right out of the box." Well, then you're getting into the exact same problems that Randy talked about. If the roofer's paying your deductible, well, they're going to cut corners. They're going to try to make up that profit somewhere else. Who knows what kind of laborers they're going to put up on your roof, right? So those are the kind of issues that you're going to run into as a homeowner if the cheapest roofer is your main criteria.
Well,
okay. So, go ahead.
I want to say there's one more piece of this whole component that we got to make sure to discuss. And you just touched on it. The insurance carriers. So we've done probably 10,000 roofs over our period of existence here. And, a good probably 70% of those are insurance claims, right? Out of those insurance claims roofs, we've found missing items or things that needed to be supplemented on the back end that were not accounted for on the front end by the insurance company nearly every single time. We average over 20% increase purely based off of components and items and line items that the insurance company don't include on the front end. As a roofing contractor, it's my responsibility to roof this job the right way, per manufacturer spec, per code, and for just what's the right way to do it, right? To make sure that it's going to be leak proof, to make sure that I can put a warranty behind it, make sure that I can stand behind it. In order for me to do that, there's a number of components, a number of things that I have to do that properly. And the insurance companies, unfortunately, many times they are going to come in and lowball or omit a few items because of the homeowner and the roofer. There's a large percentage of homeowners and roofers that are either going to just go with the cheapest roofer, or they're just going to just do it for what the insurance said and just move on. But what they're doing, again, devaluing, because there's almost always missing items. So then we have to supplement and send in a change order and send in a request saying, hey, we missed X, Y, and Z. Can you also include this in your scope and pay for that as well? And that happens on almost every claim.
Yeah, I'll give you a really good example of that on a job we're working on right now. This is a house that we had roofed in 2013. And then they got hit with hail here again just a few weeks ago, just monster hail. And it blew up their roof. The insurance claim was $5,000 too low, which means it was 33% too low because this isn't a big roof. Well, they totally missed the fact that it had an upgraded shingle on it. Well, we knew that because we put the shingle on. So yeah, we just send in our information, send in the contract with the scope of work on it. Insurance company agrees, and they increase the claim. So good point. All right. So Randy, before I want to talk about some of the other problems that could come up for a homeowner if they hire the cheapest roofer. But before we do that, if somebody's in the Denver market, the Denver area, how do they get a hold of Elite Roofing and Solar?
The best, quickest way is just the good old Google machine. So type in Elite Roofing and Solar. I would encourage you to look us up, look at our website, check our reviews, and any of those pathways, there's going to be a link or a phone call to call us. You can also call us at 303-296-0361.
All right. So we have roofers that watch this. I know that just based on the responses that we get from our community polls. So if a roofer is wanting to know how to take his business to the next level, how can a roofer get a hold of the Roofing Academy?
Same thing. Go to theroofingacademy.com, search out the Roofing Academy. You can also find me on all the channels. We have a YouTube channel as well, the Roofing Academy, which we have a podcast and we put a ton of free content and free information out there to help you build, grow, and sustain a successful roofing company.
All right, good. We're going to put the links to those in the video description down below. All right. So homeowners, here are some of the problems that you could run into if you actually hire the cheapest roofer and get him out there to start working on your job. I'm going to just kind of hit Randy blindside on this and have him come up with some ideas. But here's one idea that I came up with that you could run into. You hire the cheapest roofer. He knows he's doing it for really low profit. He wants to make some of that up. So then all of a sudden, in the middle of the job, he comes to you and says, hey, I found such and such, and it's going to cost $3,000 more. Do you want us to go ahead and take care of it? If you don't, you're probably going to have a roof leak and XYZ, all kinds of reasons. Or he may not even come to you and tell you ahead of time. It may be that he presents you that information at the end of the job and says, well, we found a bunch of bad decking. We had to replace it. We couldn't get a hold of you. So we just went ahead and did it, and it's going to cost an extra $3,000. You ever seen that happen, Randy?
You know,
have you ever heard of that happen?
It does happen. It's kind of the age-old change order game that a lot of contractors play, and it's more prevalent in the commercial world, because I mean, we haven't really gone into that, but we're talking about homeowners here. But imagine, a commercial. I'm a building owner. I own a commercial building. Man, it's way more prevalent of wanting the cheapest roof in the commercial world. Right. So what happens is a lot of contractors will come in, be the cheapest roof, and then all of a sudden you get hit with a bunch of change orders and you get kind of leveraged and put into a position where you have to pay the extra money in order to get the roof done properly because of something that the roofer didn't see or didn't account for up front. And I can't tell you how many times we've lost jobs because we were super detailed and our estimate was way more detailed and involved, but we were, $10,000 more. And ultimately what happens is that consumer ends up paying more than that on the back end with the change orders that happens. And some contractors actually, that's their business model. And it's hard to swallow.
Well, and I'm not saying that it's not legitimate, that things could come up, right? And I know you're saying the same thing. Obviously, you get the roof torn off, you could find things. But that is a tactic that the cheap roofers will use to try to make back some of the money that they know that they're leaving on the table up front.
And as a consumer, it's just some advice to a consumer. Check the provisions within the contract, because if there's something that could potentially come up, a good contractor is going to notify you that ahead of time. We have a provision in there that says if we find bad decking, here's what's going to cost X amount. It's not included in the claim or in the contract now, but if we uncover this roof and find that we got to replace decking, it's X dollars per sheet to do that. That's what the cost is. I'm letting you know ahead of time that could be something that comes up, right? And that's a big one that comes up quite a bit.
What other tactics do you know of that roofers will use if you hire the cheap roofer? What are some of the other tactics that you know of?
Well, they're going to use, I've heard of this too, where contractors are buying, materials from God knows where, and they're getting them really cheap in order to try to be, a cheaper roofer. But who knows? Maybe they're buying them from like a black market or someone who stole them from a job site. And that happens all the time. Materials get stolen. So contractors could be buying materials from a third party or from a market that's not a traditional source to get their price down on their costs, or they can be cutting their costs dramatically on their labor by using labor that's just not skilled, that doesn't know what they're doing, as well as just the cutting corners. So I think that's the biggest one is, in order to be the cheapest roofer, two things. You either are going to cut corners. If you're doing it intentionally to try to be the cheapest roofer, you're either going to cut corners, or you're willing to work off a very, very thin margin and take that risk of being out of business, or you just don't know the difference. You just
Yeah.
don't know what your profit margin is. You're
Yeah.
literally going off of, well, what did roofer A do on this last deal? I'm going to be cheaper this time. And then so on and so forth. It keeps going. I'm just going to be cheaper and cheaper and cheaper because it's a race to the bottom in
Yeah.
that
Right.
with that sort of a mindset. So you're going to have to cut your costs and perform the job cheaper in order to be the cheapest roofer. And you get what you pay for. I know that's as the old cliche goes, you get what you pay for,
Yeah.
especially in construction and contracting.
Well, another thing that you as a homeowner could run into hiring the cheapest roofer is if they're not fully insured. What if somebody gets injured on your property
Yep.
and they don't have the insurance to be able to cover that? Are the injury lawyers going to come after you trying to file a claim on your homeowner's insurance? What if something gets broken on your property and the roofer doesn't have the insurance to be able to cover it? Well, now that cost is on you. So that cheap roofer ended up possibly costing you even more. When
I
you
love
look
that you
through this,
mentioned that because again, I'm on the business side. I'm a business consultant in roofing, and insurance for roofing contractors is the second highest insurance of any contractor. So it is, and consumers don't know this. They want the cheapest roofer. But
yeah,
how do I be the cheapest roofer? I don't get good insurance. I don't have good coverage because insurance is very expensive for contractors, for roofing contractors, especially because it's high risk. It's very dangerous what we do. Things happen.
yeah,
People get hurt. People can fall. Things can fall off a roof and hit people. Like there's a lot of things that can happen, and homes can get damaged. I mean, you're using big machinery to load roofs, shingles on roofs. What happens if that truck barely hits the edge of the house? Tons of damage gets caused. What happens if a
yeah,
roof leaks or they're in the middle of a roof and all of a sudden we're in Colorado, a freak hailstorm, a rainstorm happens and your house gets flooded? What happens? Who pays for that?
yeah.
Right? You got to have a company that has good quality, not just baseline insurance, quality insurance that covers all those things. And you should have, in my opinion, it should be at least a $2 million policy.
Okay, so Randy, we talked about why the cheapest roofer is rarely ever going to be the best solution. Let's just spend just a couple minutes going through some ideas for a homeowner. How do you find a roofer who's going to fit your budget but still do a good job? What ideas do you have?
So one of the first things I want to do as a consumer, can I put my consumer hat back on here, is I want to really see how thorough and detailed they are with their presentation, with their scope of work. So if they're giving me an estimate, I'm going to be comparing estimates, and oftentimes the one that's really thorough and detailed is going to make me a lot more comfortable with picking a company. Another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do my research. One, I'm going to make sure that they have proper insurance. I'm going to make sure that they're local. I'm going to check their BBB ratings. I'm going to check their Google ratings and make sure they have good reviews, and not just fake reviews, but good, genuine reviews from past customers. I'm going to see how long they've been in business, and I'm going to see what kind of warranties they offer, whether it's manufacturer or from the company. I know for us personally, we offer both, and we have a lifetime warranty, but we've been around for 17 years. So we can offer that and find that comfort and help homeowners be more comfortable in making those decisions.
All right, so you know what you need to do right now? Click this video right here. Oh, and if you need to get some more information about how to choose the best roofer, how to choose a roofer that fits into your budget, watch this playlist right here.